think the idea of their age alone, and they were so feisty and kept up with things, and I think that they certainly were an inspiration to a lot of people.
I think they were twins. Were they in their 90s or so?
In their 90s?
I remember my mom was in the hospital, and I would usually get her books, and the one book she really wanted was the Delaney Sisters. She said, "Get that book for me," you know.
Oh my goodness.
So that was the last book that she had to read, so to speak.
Okay. Well, you know, as usual, Karen, we may be talking about anything, Sharon.
Mm-hmm.
And today we know that there's some, as always, when the president, especially when he speaks to America, and if it, don't let it be good news. Don't let it even be any kind of good news, because immediately following, you will hear some of the craziest reasons and some of the verbiage that leaves that part of the country. You just wonder, is this America? You know, is this America?
I think what is so unfortunate that the hidden kind of prejudices certainly have surfaced. You know, they say they're hidden, but they never went away.
Never did.
But for some reason, people have been given a license to say really absurd things and to do absurd things.
Yeah.
One of the questions I asked to one of my seminar yesterday, which is a course that looks at black liberation in the black church, I asked them what they thought took the place of religion and church going in our society.
Mm-hmm.
And one kid who is studying to be an Episcopal priest said, let's make it clear that it's not just church attendance dropped in the black community, it's church attendance dropped in the white community. And we talked about, you know, how in all the polls, you know, black churchgoers, or that church-going attendance has always been higher. I think it was in one of the Pew polls. But at any rate, with what these people are doing and with what they profess to be, there's just such a disconnect, you know, between, particularly between those who profess to be born-again Christians, evangelicals. You know, the things that they're saying are just hateful.
Yes.
And it really reveals the fact that it's impossible for someone who thinks that they're superior to find someone who they have perceived as being less. And all of a sudden they're outshining the superior figure.
Exactly.
Because if I accept you and your talents, that means I have to adjust my image of myself. So if they allow Barack to be a great president, then it's like, well, what am I? You know, if he's intelligent, what am I? Because we have this Western way.
What am I?
We have this Western way of thinking where things are diametrically opposed, where we bifurcate any particular way of identifying one another. So black means not so good, white is good. So if black becomes good, what does white become? Sorry about the race piece, but I think that that's what's been unleashed. It's the discomfort with knowing that perhaps, just perhaps, I'm not as bright, I'm not as sharp, you know, as I thought I was. And in fact, if there is one black person who is that capable, you know, God didn't, you know, just make one. There must be a whole bunch of them out there.
Right.
So I need to be afraid. I
scary.
need to be afraid at this point.
Oh.
I think that's what's going on with Barack. I really feel for him in a way. But you know, the hotter the environment becomes towards him, the more his sway comes out. I don't know if you've been watching.
Have you noticed?
I know. The hotter it becomes, you know, that walk gets a little stronger.
I'm telling you, you better believe it. That's so
that
true.
Smile, he'll go up in front of a group of people,
and
knowing
win them over too.
And just flash that smile and just stand there for a minute and say, "Go ahead, take your pictures."
You know it. So I had Obama down, not for any particular reason, but just for the idea that this man has to operate in an arena that has no rules, has no respect attached to it. It's not a matter of we want to ask these questions so that we can begin to work with him for solutions. It's no, let's pick everything apart. and there's a segment of the community, Dr. Clayton, that says we'd rather see America fail than to see it win, and we have to have Barack Obama.
That's the sad part
That's
about
racism
it.
at the height, you know, at its highest.
When George Bush, I think Little Bush, was elected, prior to him going in, there was a report called America for the 21st Century that was done that dealt with the military-industrial complex, and it dealt with what needed to be done with this axis of evil. It was kind of a predictive kind of piece. Well, there is that same kind of effort went on just as Barack Obama was being inaugurated. And I have to get back with the name of this book by Harper, but there was a meeting of 4 reported Republicans, Gingrich among them, who had ties with the Tea Party. And in that meeting, they plotted a plan, just as America for the 21st Century plotted a plan for the military. They plotted a plan against Barack Obama, a 4-point plan to make sure, and on that plan it was, of course, the election of 2010. Excuse me. And then it had, everything was leading up to, and I don't know if the raising of the money was in there with the super PACs, but it was leading up to the presidential election of 2012.
Exactly.
So there has been a plan in place, folks.
All along.
All along. And when we talk about that, people want to make us appear as if we've lost our mind, that there is a conspiracy that has been going on. And so we get this label of being a conspiracy theorist or wanting everything to be hinged on race. But let me tell you, we live in America and in a society that was designed to benefit some and discredit others.
That's
and as long as the progeny of those who benefited are told the lies and the stereotypes, that whole cycle will continue until you're able to talk about it publicly.
Yeah. And you know, I have said, and some of these things that you've just talked about, sharing, I remember before the election, you were talking about these same things and saying these are the things we need to be aware of. We should be, you know, super sensitive to what's going on around us. And I don't think we did that I don't think Americans did it in the general population to the degree that they could have. And certainly I think we dropped the ball after Obama was elected. Now there are a lot of reasons for that, but yet and still there's another chance coming up, and regardless to who you are going to back this time around, if you don't go to the polls, it's not going to work. And of course, that's a position that we take here at KBBG. We're not telling you to go and vote for this one or that one, but we are saying, are you registered to vote, and are you going to vote?
You need to vote. You've
That's
got
right.
to vote.
Otherwise, you have no voice.
I heard something that kind of stuck with me. It was on something I probably shouldn't have been watching on television, but the comment was made that you can't pick cherries with your back to the tree.
Okay.
And I thought about that little saying, and I said, well, geez, you can't complain, or you can't advocate for, or you can't be a part of the political process if you turn your back to the process. And so you've got to face it front on. And I'm glad you mentioned the vote, because it's extremely important that people vote for whomever. Because we're being underestimated. Young people are being underestimated. People of color are being underestimated. And I really do have a bone to pick with the political pundits who have started this election way back when. You know, I mean, the presidential election was started when the primary started.
That's right.
And if I see one more chart of America with the blue states and the red states, and then if this state does this and that state does this, but then if we put these states, folks, we have to vote, and we have to vote and show people that you cannot underestimate me. You cannot take me for granted. And young people, I mean, I'm sorry for going on this tyrant, but Barack's being really, and I I met him one time, so I don't know why I'm calling him Barack. President,
because we can.
the president.
Barack, I love to say that.
He's being now attacked for speaking to young people in these
Yes.
college forums, you
Yes.
know. And folks were saying that he's not being clear, but he's telling them, as I've been talking to my students all year, watch the legislation, because if the interest rates double in July on the student loans
Ooh,
that
they're in
people
big
have,
trouble.
those
Big
loans
trouble.
you will be paying the rest of your life.
That's right.
And that is in the Ryan plan. Now, I think the Republicans may be backing off that, but what Barack was doing was calling the attention to this, and he certainly did it well when he was doing the, what was it, the slow jam?
Yes,
On the news or
Uh-huh,
something.
uh-huh.
Anyhow, he gave young people information saying, listen, if you don't take
That's
care
right.
of
This is what's going to happen.
your loan is going to really, really increase, and you'll be paying for that pretty much the rest of your life, unless you get a real high-paying job where you can knock it out right
Exactly.
away.
And what
you know.
and what does that mean for these same people's children? They won't get in the college
Well,
door.
you know, isn't it ironic that you take a group of people, and you know that college costs have gone up more at this time than any other time, and you take a group of people who are living through a huge recession where parents have lost their jobs, where they've had to take out more loans to go to school, where the average college student is probably working 1 or 2 jobs with loans to go to
Right.
school, and then you want to increase or allow the interest rates to increase. So you're saying poor people stay poor, middle class, lower middle class people stay in your place, you know, because if I can strap you with this loan, then you're going to be marking time.
Right.
And then
That's
it's
right.
going to be even more difficult for your children to do this. So there's an elitism that appears to run through some of the policies that are being put on the table. And that elitism is dangerous. And I'm sure not all of the congressmen who support Ryan's budget are from an upper class background themselves, you know. And it's a shame that people would say, I got mine, now you struggle
Yeah,
to get yours the best way you can. And that's the way I read that,
Yeah.
you know.
I want you to hold your next thought. We're going for a break. Stay with us. We'll be right back.